At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Take the exit. Turn right into the drive-thru.
Nope, I'm making dinner tonight.
You don't have time. Josh has practice.
Oh, that's right. I'll just get a salad.
And fries?
No, just the salad.
But salad cancels fries.
Salad only.
Fries.
Salad.
Fries.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on the road to successful weight loss.
Hey, can I get the...
Fries.
Salad. Sorry.
Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today, I'm discussing the disappearance of 9-year-old Stephanie Crane from Challis, Idaho. In October 1993, Stephanie Crane disappeared without a trace after leaving her local bowling alley. Her sudden absence left her family and the community in shock. As search parties combed the surrounding area, and the days turned into weeks, residents in Challis became increasingly concerned that their small town wasn't nearly as safe as they thought it was. Despite many concerning incidents and persons of interest in Stephanie's case, it remains unsolved. This is the case of Stephanie Crane. In 1993, Challis, Idaho was the definition of small-town America. With a population of about 1,100, it's a tight-knit community. In an interview with the Idaho Statesman, resident Jan Long said it's one of those towns where if something happens to your kid at school, you hear about it before they even get home. Kids rode their bikes across town and walked to school with their friends without fear. Residents have called the small town nestled between the mountains a literal utopia. So it makes sense why Ben and Sandy Crane decided to raise their children here. Ben's parents, Hazel and Earl, even live right next door. Ben works in a local mineral mine and does taxidermy, while Sandy stays home with their 4 daughters, ages 9, 6, 4, and 2. So she definitely has her hands full, but with Ben's parents right next door, they make it work. And their oldest, Stephanie, also really takes on a motherly role to her younger sisters. When Stephanie's not out playing in the dirt, playing with her friends, riding bikes, and enjoying her BB gun that she got for Christmas, she's helping out around the house wherever she can. No family is perfect, but by most accounts, the Crane children are incredibly loved and well cared for. And despite having some younger siblings she helps care for, her parents make sure that Stephanie has time to enjoy her own separate activities as well. Specifically, Stephanie has joined an after-school bowling league. On Monday, October 11th, 1993, that's exactly what Stephanie's doing. After school lets out, she walks to the Challis bowling alley, which is basically across the street. Her mom, Sandy, meets her there around 4 to pay for her games and give her $1 to buy a snack. Then Sandy heads home, expecting Stephanie to really be right behind her in about 45 minutes. Again, small town, Stephanie walked everywhere and she was expected to walk home. But when Stephanie isn't home by 5:15, Sandy doesn't exactly panic. She calls Stephanie's grandmother Hazel to see if she's there. She's not. Hazel checks with some of the neighborhood kids, but they haven't seen Stephanie either. Sandy calls the bowling alley at about 5:30, but the employee tells her that Stephanie already left. So Sandy and Hazel get in the car to look for Stephanie. They figure she's likely somewhere on the route between the bowling alley and home, or that maybe she just went home with a friend and hasn't called home to tell them yet. But it's really when the sun starts to set that optimism turns to fear. Stephanie is terrified of the dark. to the point where a nightlight wasn't enough for her. Stephanie had to sleep with her bedroom lights completely on. According to Hazel, Stephanie could rarely make it through a sleepover at her house right next door without asking to go home when it got dark. She was just one of those kids who were very, very afraid of the dark. So, after calling around town to see if anyone had seen Stephanie, Sandy reports her missing to the Custer County Sheriff's Office just after 8 p.m. And you guys, we love to see it. They waste no time in looking for Stephanie. The first deputy dispatch checks a creek behind the bowling alley to see if maybe Stephanie slipped and fell in, but it's pretty dark and hard to tell. So they call in Custer County Search and Rescue and the fire department to help with a larger search. They bring out horses, boats, and four-wheelers, and they're soon joined by about 15% of the entire population of the town. But the search that night comes up completely empty. There's no trace of Stephanie anywhere. The search continues the next day. But of course, they also want to try to track Stephanie's movements after leaving the bowling alley. Investigators are able to confirm with an employee at the bowling alley that Stephanie did finish her game and return her shoes before leaving the building. From here, the mother of one of Stephanie's classmates reports seeing her just before 5 p.m. She saw Stephanie in the parking lot and asked her if she was headed home. Stephanie says she was, and this mother watches her walk to a footbridge over the creek that would lead her home. But other witnesses, Stephanie's friend Brandy and her mom, report seeing Stephanie outside waiting to cross Highway 93. That would take her back to school, not home. But here, Brandy kind of yells out of the window and just asks Stephanie what she's doing and if she needs a ride home. Stephanie declines, saying that she left her backpack on the soccer field. So these initial searches for Stephanie really focus on retracing any possible routes from the bowling alley to the school and then to her house. But the search radius does eventually expand to a 7,000 square mile area that spans multiple counties. And there's just nothing. Not a hair tie, Stephanie's backpack, her hoodie. Dogs did pick up her scent outside of the bowling alley, but they lose it pretty quickly after. By day 2, state and federal agencies are called to assist, and by the end of the month, Stephanie's case is featured on America's Most Wanted. But still, there was nothing. The entire town of Challis essentially shut down to look for Stephanie. Literally, businesses closed their doors and hung signs stating that they were out helping in the search. Kids canceled their art lessons. Kids missed school. Hunters from across Idaho came to Challis in droves to volunteer their time. Trucks of food were being brought in to feed the search parties. Even the mayor, John Walker, joined the search efforts, alongside the town's most prominent business owners. The hero of this week's episode is this community. They worked so hard to find Stephanie and hopefully prevent something like this from happening again. While I was researching Stephanie's case, so many articles are just bursting with quotes about how these things don't happen in Challis, not in their small town. But everyone was working hard to find Stephanie. On Tuesday, Sandy was featured on a local TV program where she cried and begged for Stephanie's safe return. By Wednesday, there were 1,000 volunteers in Challis to look for Stephanie. And by Friday, the searches were scaled back as law enforcement began to focus on the investigation. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together. And Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
While investigators don't have much, they do have some leads they can at least try to follow up on. Many residents reported seeing a yellow truck with red stripes on the side parked outside the school. It stood out to them not only because of the color, but also because no one knew who it belonged to. They just knew that they'd never seen it before. Unfortunately, we don't know anything about the potential driver, and no one was able to recall a license plate number. So this tip just sits. The other kids bowling with Stephanie that day also report seeing a man who was out of place. No one recognized him, but they report that he was just kind of intently staring at the kids in a weird way. Again, this is a small town. The residents know who lives here and what they drive. And while no one knew who this man was, a composite sketch was created and circulated. Investigators also received tips about a blue van seen parked on the shoulder of Highway 93 about a half a mile from the bowling alley. But they were never able to track down a license plate number, make, or model of the van. But again, for what they lacked in actionable tips, they really did make up for in passion. Soon the community formed a group called Friends of Stephanie, where they volunteered their time to mail out Stephanie's missing person flyer across the country. Within a year, they'd sent out nearly 500,000 flyers. They also raised enough money for a $50,000 reward through a variety of fundraisers. That was soon doubled to $100,000. Local TV stations ran a PSA dedicated solely to her disappearance. Sandy even went on Jerry Springer in February 1994. This is before the format of his show changed quite a bit. The episode featured Stephanie and other missing children, but the tips just weren't coming in. That same month, volunteers spent 4 days digging out a water reserve that they feared was overlooked in their searches, but nothing was found. And within about this year, this passion people had for trying to find Stephanie turned to fear, and really to resentment and anger that nothing had been done. I know it sounds cliche, but the town of Challis was really changed forever. Stephanie's desk at school sat untouched that year. It became a memorial of sorts and reminder of what the town had lost. Not just Stephanie, but their feeling of utopia. Parents showed up in droves walking their kids directly to their classroom, and the streets were silent. Kids weren't walking or riding their bikes anywhere anymore. No one felt safe. By 1995, Stephanie's parents got divorced. Sandy moved to Reno, Nevada, and Ben stayed in Challis with their 3 daughters and his parents. After 2 years with nearly no answers about how Stephanie could just seemingly vanish into thin air, the Idaho Attorney General visits them to address their concerns about the lack of progress in the investigation. And they say what no parent of a missing 9-year-old wants to hear. There's no proof a crime occurred. And maybe Stephanie was just unhappy and ran away. Really, Stephanie's case sits for years, until early 1997, when one of the most prominent persons of interest is revealed. In early 1997, the Custer County Sheriff's Office gets a call from the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. They tell them that a man named Keith Hescock was taken into custody for unlawful possession of wildlife. According to early reporting on this incident, Hescock was no stranger to breaking hunting laws, and after trying to run from authorities, he was eventually caught for illegally killing 7 elk and 1 deer. He and his hunting partner, Dwayne Christensen, were ordered to pay nearly $17,000 in fines. But obviously, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game weren't calling to report illegal hunting. It appears that when Hescock was apprehended, they found a stash of child sex abuse material in his possession. They also believe that they can trace him to Challis on the day that Stephanie went missing. Hescock had apparently reported that he'd shot and killed a bighorn sheep in the area on that day. And you guys, not only that, Hescock owns a yellow truck matching the description of the one seen parked at the school that day. And again, the Custer County Sheriff's Office is all over this. They pull search warrants for his home, but they don't find anything that points them back to Stephanie. And his yellow truck now appears to be missing without explanation. As damning as it all seems, they don't have anything that moves Stephanie's case forward. Unfortunately, that same year, Stephanie's mother, Sandy, passes away due to blood clots in her lungs. By 1998, Ben moves his daughters to Orcas Island, Washington, while his parents stay behind in Challis. The next update in Stephanie's case doesn't come until May 2000. This comes from Nampa, Idaho, about 200 miles east of Challis. A man in police custody says he might have information about Stephanie Crane. He tells them he knows a woman who rented a room from a man in Nampa in 1993. She told him that she and all the neighbors were extremely concerned because they could hear a girl crying and screaming from this man's basement, and he wouldn't allow anyone to go down there. So investigators track down this woman who confirms the story. She says she was living there at this time and remembers exactly what the man told them. She says that she confronted the man who was there at the time, and he says it was his unruly daughter who was being punished for running away. So she's obviously freaked out, and she does some digging around the home and finds girls' underwear. She immediately packs her things and leaves. Now, law enforcement hasn't released this man's name or really anybody involved in this incident, but they say that in November 1992, the man was arrested on a sex charge involving a minor. He was also charged for abusing his daughter in Portland. But after receiving a suspended sentence of 6 months in jail and 3 years supervised probation, he's granted permission to move to Idaho, and he's there by the time Stephanie goes missing. This man is tracked down, given a polygraph, and asked about Stephanie, and he shows deception. They also search his home, and they find blood on mattresses in the basement, as well as a rope with fibers and hair still attached. Everything is sent off for testing in the state lab near Boise, but they can't determine if the blood is human or animal, let alone who it belongs to. Ultimately, the hairs submitted for testing were missing the follicle, and their lab was unable to test them at that time. I tried to see if these items were resubmitted for testing in more recent years, but I wasn't able to find anything. So if they were, they aren't telling us. In the end, nothing happens to this man, or really with this lead at all, which is pretty horrifying not only for Stephanie, but for whoever's blood and hair that may have been. not even to mention whoever was screaming down there. Then, in June 2002, Keith Hescock is in trouble again. He abducted a 14-year-old girl. She was sleeping outside on a trampoline with her sister. He explained to the girl that he'd raped and killed a girl in the past, and before leaving for work, he chained her to some furniture in his home. But the girl found a fire extinguisher, and after hours of pounding at the chain, she broke free. She ended up finding an envelope with Hescock's address on it, and called a family friend to pick her up. When Hescock pulled up to his house after work, deputies were waiting for him, so he fled. During the high-speed chase through the mountains of Madison County, Hescock made 3 phone calls, including one to his mom, where he said he couldn't go back to prison. He'd recently served 2 years for burglary. Then, Hescock turned onto a dead-end road, shot and killed a canine officer, shot another officer in the leg, and then died by suicide. Authorities searched truckloads of evidence from Hescock's home, but were never able to connect him to Stephanie's disappearance or any others. Stephanie's case sits for another 4 years, until a third possible person of interest is discovered.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. And it leads on who they might have been running for.
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team. And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2. Now available on Disney+, rated PG.
In December 2006, a man in Thorn Creek, Idaho, died by suicide, leaving behind a note explaining his guilt. He says his friend Kevin Mooney told him that he picked up a girl in Challis, Idaho, who he called Steph, and raped and killed her. So, investigators find Kevin Mooney. He says he has no idea why his friend would say something like that, and denies any involvement in Stephanie's case. Cadaver dogs are taken to his property. He passes a polygraph, and investigators consider him to be cleared. So, Stephanie's case just sits again. On October 11th, 2012, 19 years to the day that Stephanie went missing, her father Ben dies from a heart attack. And unfortunately, that is pretty much where Stephanie's case is today. So, what happened to 9-year-old Stephanie Crane? The yellow truck with the red stripes has never been found, and its owner has never been identified. The same goes for the blue van parked along the freeway, and the man watching the kids at the bowling alley. The composite sketch never produced any actionable leads. Richard Allen Davis, who was convicted of killing 12-year-old Polly Klaas in 1996, was looked at as a possible person of interest in this case. The connection is a little unclear, but the FBI says that they ultimately do not believe he was involved. Stephanie's great-uncle, Robert Paul Crane, was also looked at, but he was in Colorado working at a lumber camp at this time. This does feel like a case where stranger abduction is very possible. It only takes a few seconds for a kid to be grabbed off the side of the road. And despite earlier statements that she may have run away, authorities now state that they believe she likely was taken by someone she didn't know. Ultimately, the Custer County Sheriff's Office says that Stephanie's case is still open, and will remain open until she's found. Stephanie's grandmother Hazel still has hope that she may be out there, possibly being held captive, or that she was brainwashed into believing that her family didn't want her anymore. She has hope that she's still alive. And I'll just say that we all know that crazier things have happened in true crime. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share Stephanie's case. The group Friends of Stephanie spent an entire year to send out 500,000 flyers. But a lot has changed since 1993. That's something I think we could do in a single day if just everyone shared her case and her flyer. So that's my ask. Please share. While Stephanie's parents are no longer with us, she still does have family out there. Her friend Brandy, the one that asked her what she was doing and if she needed a ride, even named one of her children after Stephanie. She not only changed Challis, Idaho forever, but she impacted every person that lived there. Please share. As a reminder, Stephanie Lynn Crane was 9 years old when she was last seen on October 11th, 1993 in Challis, Idaho. She is white with brown hair and blue eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she was 4 feet 2 inches tall and weighed 65 pounds. She was last seen wearing maroon sweatpants, a maroon and white striped hoodie with the word "Gimme" on the front, and maroon and white striped tennis shoes. She does have a small scar on her right eyebrow. Anyone with information about Stephanie's case is encouraged to call the Custer County Sheriff's Office at 208-879-2232. You can also call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. But, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The door is open. Our emotional support dogs are in the room. Let's talk about it. First, what's going on with me? Not a lot. I will say that there's been a few delays in Alyssa's new season, and that's actually because of some exciting developments that I honestly don't feel comfortable sharing with you guys here because I know that my dad is watching everything that I do. He actually recently posted a video saying exactly that. He says he's trying to email me, and I'm blocking him, which I've honestly never received an email because I will take any correspondence from that man and log it and compare it. So Dad, if you are trying to reach me, my email is sarah@voicesforjusticepodcast.com. I'm not getting your emails, but I will take any written correspondence from you any day. I may not respond to you, but feel free to send your emails there. He's also saying that he found out I blocked him on Instagram, which is true. Dad, I did block you on Instagram. Stop stalking my social media. But yeah, that's basically what's going on with Alyssa's new season is there are some delays, but for good reason. I'm getting some new info, some interesting information, and I think it's going to be, I hate to be sensational and say insane, but I really do think it's going to be insane. I have learned so much since I started podcasting in 2019 about how to research, how to get documents, how to get information, how to interview. I didn't know what I was doing in 2019, and I think we all knew that. I was very forthcoming about that. I was a person in a closet with the world's worst laptop and a cheap microphone just trying to get justice for my sister. And a lot has changed since then. And as much as I do feel the pressure of you guys wanting this season, and I understand that timeliness is a thing, and I don't want people to forget about her or not be interested anymore, at the end of the day, what I make with her season is what I have to live with forever. And I'm not willing to compromise on that. So I'm sorry for the delay. I will let you know when it's going to come out as soon as I can. I just really want it to be complete. If I'm being completely honest with you, once I finish these projects about Alyssa and some of these initiatives that you will hear more about, I have to walk away, at least unless something new comes up. Of course, I'm always open to tips and I'll always be fighting for her in whatever way I can. But after that, I really don't know what else I can do. And that hurts. It really, like, I'm like trying not to cry. It hurts. Saying I'm going to walk away is almost like saying, I'm giving up, but I really don't think it's that. I don't want to give up. It's just after this last season and all these initiatives, it's truly, I don't know what else I can do. But there are some good things coming up, some things that I think will help. Popcorn's yelling at us from afar. But with that being said, like I said, this the season is delayed. I apologize. I'm trying to make it fantastic and complete and something that I will forever be proud of, something that Alyssa would be proud of. So thank you for understanding. On to happier things with me. I just wanted to say that Marley is doing well. Thank you for all the concerns. He's good. We are managing his pain and just taking it slowly. I also want to say that we hit our goal with the Season of Justice fundraiser. I talked about that, I think like 2 episodes ago, and I just wanted to thank you, everyone who donated. You guys are amazing. You're fantastic. We did hit our goal. And again, if you are interested in learning more about Season of Justice and how we help solve cold cases and help assist families, check out seasonofjustice.org. But let's go on to the case. Move on to the case. Let's move on. So, why I picked it, I just saw it and wanted to help. Maybe I should stop talking about why I picked it when it's that simple, but for me, you guys know the threshold to get on this podcast is very low. I'm not regional. I'm not looking for a specific amount of coverage. I'm not looking for a certain demographic. If it is unsolved and in need of justice, I'm going to try to cover it, even when, again, it's a shorter episode. It's just, you guys know, I won't be like, that's too short of an episode. I'm not doing it. I want to help. I'm helping. So that's why I picked it. As far as media discrepancies, there actually wasn't much in this one. I actually didn't talk about it in the episode, but Disappeared did do an episode on this case. And I didn't find a ton of discrepancies when it came to like the early reporting and, more traditional media. There were a few small things, timelines, the year her mom passed. For some reason in the show, they made it seem like it was a totally different year and all this stuff happened at the same time. But when I went back through traditional news sources, that didn't appear to be the case. But I will say overall, the media discrepancies in this case, not bad compared to a lot of cases I have seen. Next on my list, I have Kevin Mooney. I'd like more info, please. And it was really hard for me not to interject in the main episode. But that was like, I would like more info. Back to my original statement is, they basically said, well, we gave him a polygraph test, and took cadaver dogs to his house and we cleared him, and I'm like, man, that was, back then when we were relying on polygraphs a lot more, perhaps we go back and reinvestigate that. I don't know, just a suggestion. And perhaps they have and have not publicized it. I will say that Stephanie's case doesn't get a ton of media anymore. I think the episode of Disappeared was probably the biggest pop of media. And of course, there's always like an anniversary story. But yeah, it's just one of those cases without a ton of new media. So I really hope, I really hope that they have looked further into Kevin Mooney or have done more than say, well, he, passed a polygraph, so he's good to go. I also really, really hope that they have retested the hairs and retained the hairs. So you guys know I'm on the board of Season of Justice. Obviously, I talk about it all the time. And we have encountered, what's the likelihood of testing a hair without a follicle? And it's kind of like a hot topic sometimes in tech. And forgive me, I am not the best with all the technical terms, but what I can tell you is that technology has advanced so much since then, and you can test a rootless hair, a hair without a follicle. It still doesn't have like the best success rate, but it is possible. So I really, really hope that they retained that stuff and sent it out for testing again. I mean, my God, I would really like to know if that blood was animal or human and what happened in that freaking basement, because that is scary. The last thing I want to say about this case is for the Idaho Attorney General, who was serving in 1995 or whatever. I just want to say, sir, 9-year-olds actually aren't allowed to just run away and stay away. Like, I really don't care if they run and leave a note and say, I'm running away to grandma's. It's actually still your job to find them. Not to just give excuses that you can't find any proof and that you think that she's probably fine. I don't know, sir, if you're listening, if you're still out there, I just thought maybe you should be aware of that. That like when kids, quote, run away, you actually still have to go find them. So I really hope that perhaps you can take that constructive criticism going forward and not ever, ever, ever again tell a family what you told them that day. I feel like I'm always ending on a sassy note before we get to the segment of hope. And I'm like, anyway, here's good stuff. But I do want to move on to our segment of hope. I mean, I guess I will say, as like to finish out the segment about Stephanie, and this wasn't on my list. I just thought of it. I think it's hard because at this point in true crime, the small town losing its innocence is kind of a trope. But I want to say that those tropes, those cliches are rooted in truth. And I think that this is the perfect example of a town really being transformed by the loss of Stephanie. And if that's the reality of a case, I won't shy away from it just because it sounds a little cheesy. I've gotten some feedback in the past that's like, oh yeah, small town change forever. They're locking their doors at night now or whatever, like boring. And it's like, that's just the reality of what happened, man. I'm not going to change, the storyline just because I think it sounds a little cheesy or a little cliche, because that's just the truth of this situation. Challis, Idaho was changed forever. Most of the town shut down their entire lives to help with Stephanie. Most of them knew her. I read articles about like people at the bowling alley who worked there, in tears saying that she was a good kid. It's heartbreaking to see a town go through that. Of course, Stephanie is the main focus, but to see a town go through that, in addition to the family going through that and all that hardship, it's just heartbreaking. And I send so much love to this family. I mean, I can't even imagine at this point, October 11th, between losing Stephanie and their dad, has to be just unbearable. So I am sending you guys so much love. Please, please, please share Stephanie's case. And now we will go on to our segment of hope. And this is probably no surprise to you guys. I don't think I've ever been sent this many emails about the same case for a segment of hope. And I am reading from local12.com. This is in West Oakland, California. And it appears to be written by staff, so thank you, staff. And the headline reads, 6-year-old boy abducted is found 70 years later. Now he's a father and grandfather. You guys, this is absolutely insane. Like I said, so many of you guys sent this to me, so I'm just going to read from the article. Quote, a boy who was abducted from a park when he was 6 years old has been found 70 years later, and he's now a father and grandfather. 6-year-old Luis Armando Albino was lured by a woman with candy at a park in West Oakland in February 1951, according to the Los Angeles Times. The woman then flew, I hope it's Albino, I think it is, to the East Coast where he would be raised by another couple. And then this is how it came down, you guys. Then, in September 2024, his niece in Oakland used DNA testing, newspaper clippings, and help from the police, FBI, and Justice Department to locate her uncle living on the East Coast, according to the LA Times. So she gets to meet her uncle, and she learns that he was a retired firefighter and Marine Corps veteran who served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. He's also a father and a grandfather. Apparently, his mother died in 2005, but always had hope that she would find her son. She kept a newspaper clipping of the article about her son's kidnapping in her wallet for her entire life and hung a photo of him in her living room. He also got to meet his brother shortly before he died, and they bonded over their experience in the military. The LA Times said that he does wish to keep some of his experiences private after he was abducted, which more power to you. Keep your privacy. I'm obviously getting emotional, but it's like stories like this is exactly why I will never end an episode by saying, Stephanie's grandmother Hazel has hope that she'll be alive, but it looks like maybe someday, we'll never find answers. I can't tell you how many podcasts covered my sister's case like that. Alyssa's sister Sarah has hope that someday justice will be done, but I don't think this case will ever be solved. I think it's one of the worst things you can ever, ever, ever say in true crime. And if you do feel that way, I really implore you with an unsolved case, keep it to yourself. Families don't need that speculation, they need hope. And this story right here after 70 years is proof that that hope is not shallow, that hope is not performative, that hope is realistic. It may not be statistically probable, but it is realistic to hold out hope. It really is. True crime is stranger than any fiction anyone on this planet could ever write. I'll die on that hill. There is always hope. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.